How does a Hollywood icon go from sitcom stardom to the center of a courtroom drama that questions justice itself? Danny Masterson, the former That 70s Show star, is appealing his 30-year prison sentence for rape, claiming critical flaws in his trial. Could this reshape the entire case? Danny Masterson's recent appeal has reignited public interest in a case that has already captivated attention for its mix of celebrity, allegations of sexual misconduct, and the influence of the Church of Scientology. Masterson's legal team has submitted a detailed appeal, arguing that his September 2023 conviction for raping 2 women in the early 2000s was marred by legal errors. At the heart of this appeal lies the claim that the court allowed flawed evidence and mishandled testimony, leading to an unfair trial. The actor's conviction, which resulted in a 30-year-to-life prison sentence, followed allegations that he drugged and raped 2 women in incidents spanning from 2001 to 2003. While the prosecution painted a chilling picture of his actions, the defense has pointed out what they claim are significant judicial missteps that warrant a new trial. Could the court have made mistakes that influenced the jury's decision? A major pillar of Danny Masterson's appeal revolves around the admissibility of evidence, with his legal team arguing that the court erred in allowing flawed evidence to be presented. Central to this claim is the issue of delayed reporting by the victims, which the defense believes unfairly influenced the jury's perception. In sexual assault cases, delayed reporting is not uncommon, particularly when the accused holds significant influence or power, as seen in Masterson's case involving his ties to the Church of Scientology. Victims often face immense psychological and societal pressures, which can delay their decision to come forward. However, Masterson's lawyers contend that the court did not adequately address how these delays might have affected the reliability of the testimony. Memories can fade or change over time, potentially leading to inconsistencies in accounts. The defense argues that such weaknesses in the evidence should have been given greater scrutiny before being presented to the jury, raising questions about fairness in the trial process. Another significant aspect of the appeal focuses on the role of the Church of Scientology. Masterson and his accusers were all members of the church during the time of the alleged assaults, and the organization played a significant role in the trial. According to the accusers, the Church of Scientology actively discouraged them from reporting Masterson's actions to the authorities. The defense, however, argues that the court's handling of testimony related to Scientology was improper and biased the jury. Could the inclusion of this testimony have unfairly tipped the scales? The defense has strongly argued that testimony regarding the Church of Scientology unfairly dominated Danny Masterson's trial, creating a narrative that shifted the focus away from the specific charges against him. They claim the court allowed testimony that painted the church as an oppressive institution, allegedly discouraging the victims from reporting the assaults, while the accusers argued that Scientology's influence was central to understanding their delayed reporting and fear of retaliation. The defense contends this focus blurred the line between Masterson's actions and the broader criticism of Scientology. By introducing these allegations, the defense asserts the trial became as much an indictment of the church as it was of Masterson. They argue that the media coverage may have biased the jury. This could have overshadowed the specific evidence and testimony tied to the accusations against Masterson. Such a focus, they claim, potentially compromised the jury's impartiality, transforming the trial into a referendum on Scientology rather than a pursuit of justice for the victims. Masterson's attorneys have also raised concerns about juror bias. This was a high-profile case, with media coverage and public scrutiny surrounding both Masterson and Scientology. The defense argues that external factors could have influenced the jury's decision. Jurors were tasked with setting aside the media circus and focusing solely on the evidence presented in court. However, it remains uncertain whether they were swayed by the public perception of Masterson as a guilty man before the trial even began. Were the jurors able to remain impartial despite the media influence? Danny Masterson's appeal also hinges on the principle of double jeopardy, a constitutional protection that prevents an individual from being tried twice for the same offense. His defense argues that the retrial following the mistrial in 2022 may have violated this safeguard. The first trial ended in a hung jury, with jurors unable to reach a unanimous decision, which legally allows for a retrial under U.S. law. However, Masterson's legal team claims the circumstances surrounding the second trial raised questions about fairness and procedural integrity. They assert that the retrial unfairly advantaged the prosecution, enabling them to refine their arguments and strategy based on the first trial's outcome. Additionally, they argue that this second attempt placed Masterson in a position of compounded jeopardy, facing the stress and prejudice of being retried in a highly publicized case. Legal experts often note that retrials are permissible if the first trial does not reach a conclusion, but the defense's appeal seeks to challenge whether this retrial crossed into unconstitutional territory. If the higher court finds merit in this argument, it could significantly impact the case, potentially invalidating the conviction. The inconsistencies in the victim's testimonies are one of the most contentious aspects of Danny Masterson's case, forming a central argument in his appeal. The defense has highlighted significant changes in the accounts provided by the accusers over the years, raising questions about the reliability of their statements. For instance, one victim's description of events reportedly shifted between her 2004 police report and her 2023 court testimony. These discrepancies, the defense contends, should have been thoroughly scrutinized, as they could indicate potential weaknesses in the prosecution's case. However, experts in trauma and sexual assault often explain that memory gaps in evolving narratives are common among survivors. Trauma can distort how events are processed and recalled, leading to incomplete or altered recollections over time. Despite this understanding, the defense argues that such inconsistencies warranted closer examination to ensure the jury could fully evaluate their impact on credibility. This debate raises important questions about balancing empathy for survivors with the need for rigorous legal standards in high-stakes trials. The defense also highlights the impact of lost evidence and faded memories due to the long gap between the alleged incidents and the trial. For example, a 2004 tape recording of a police interview with one of the victims was lost, which the defense claims could have been crucial in challenging her testimony. Additionally, some witnesses who could have provided key evidence had passed away, while others struggled to recall events clearly after 2 decades. Could this loss of evidence have unfairly disadvantaged Masterson's defense? Another broader issue raised by Masterson's legal team is the question of statutes of limitations. While California law has extended the time frame for prosecuting sexual assault cases, the defense argues that such long delays inherently compromise the fairness of trials. They point to the difficulty of preserving evidence and memories over decades, which can make it challenging for defendants to mount an effective defense. This raises an important question: should there be a limit to how far back cases can go, even in serious crimes like sexual assault? Prosecutors, however, have defended their case by emphasizing the patterns of behavior described by the accusers. They argued that the similarities in the victims' stories pointed to a calculated pattern of abuse by Masterson. Despite the defense's claims about inconsistencies, the prosecution maintained that these were minor and did not undermine the overall credibility of the victims. Could the jury have seen through the defense's arguments and focused on the larger picture? What makes this case even more polarizing is the public reaction. On one side are those who believe Masterson was rightly convicted based on the courage of the victims to come forward and share their experiences. On the other side are supporters of the actor who argue that the trial was flawed and biased, influenced by public opinion and media coverage. This divide highlights a broader societal debate: how do we ensure justice for victims while also protecting the rights of the accused in highly publicized cases? Looking ahead, Masterson's appeal will be reviewed by a higher court, which will determine whether there were sufficient legal or procedural errors to warrant overturning the conviction or granting a new trial. Appeals are not easy to win, and the burden of proof lies heavily on Masterson's legal team. However, if the court finds merit in even one of their arguments, it could change the outcome of this case entirely. What will the appeal mean for the victims, Masterson, and the broader conversation around delayed reporting and institutional influence? The outcome of this appeal could have far-reaching implications, not just for Masterson, but for future cases involving similar circumstances. It raises critical questions about how we handle delayed reporting of sexual assault, the role of powerful institutions like Scientology in legal cases, and the balance between public opinion and fair trials. As the legal process continues, this case will undoubtedly remain a focal point in discussions about justice, celebrity, and the Me Too movement. Danny Masterson's appeal challenges the very foundation of his conviction, highlighting issues that could impact how similar cases are prosecuted in the future. As the court reviews the claims of judicial flaws, juror bias, and lost evidence, the world will be watching closely. Will this appeal bring justice, or will it reaffirm the original verdict? Only time will tell. What are your thoughts on this controversial case? Share them in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this and other important legal stories.